Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Cultural Coast. And live in person, we were just treated to some wonderful guitar work by Bobby, as he even showed us he can play with no hands at all, as he's got his looper going, working both sides of the neck. My name's Reverend Emile Govreau. I guess it's not on my driver's license, Reverend, just Emile Govreau, but I am a Reverend and I'm here, and some people call me Rev G because I had hung out with a group of East Indian Hindus for about 3 years doing Kirtan music, and they gave me that Rev G honorific, and it reminds me of all the good feelings I had with that group. So anyway, we're here. Reverend Teresa is in Utah, I believe, with her daughter, packing up the house and getting ready to fly home tomorrow or Tuesday, as I recall. And so I'm going to try to carry the ball here and keep the energy going and bring us. Can't hear me. Okay, is it not coming through the speakers? Seems like this side is loud and clear, but maybe just turn it a little bit. Huh? There we go. Is that better? Okay. Okay, very good. Little technical things from time. You know, it's amazing. Maybe turn this one back. You know, we set this up every week the same way, same pieces of equipment, blah, 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 blah. And some weeks, some things work, and other weeks they don't. So we just have to figure it out. It's energy flowing, I guess. I'm not quite sure where all that comes from, but we'll just take a moment. We've got a great day. We've got great music to support the words and everything else that we're doing. And so let's just take a moment and turn within. And just know with me that there is one power, one presence everywhere and right here, flowing and moving as each one of us, right where we are, right in our chairs. It always has been, always will be. And we are just a representation of all the energy of spirit all around the world that is flowing and moving and showing up as all the wonderful expressions of spirit that we experience from day to day and moment to moment. And so I am grateful for this moment. I know that as we go through this next hour or so, that we are lifted in a way that we cannot have imagined before we got here, and that we are lifted into a space that is powerful, a self-aware space, a space that is simply freeing into the spirit all that we have to give and all that we have to take in that flow of infinite activity of spirit moving in, through, and as us in every moment. So with great gratitude, I release this word. Name it good and very good, and we can say together, and so it is. And now we have the dynamic duo of Emily Ross and Matthew Frost, and they're going to bring us some wonderful music this morning. I think it's the first time you guys have done together here, yeah? I think you've done solo. Not the first time. Not the first time? It's just been a while. It's been a while, okay. I think that's when we first started here with the covenant.
Good morning.
Check.
Hi.
All right, we're going to start with a song that I wrote on the back porch. It's a back porch burner, and where I live, it's in a woods, and there's a sort of a spirit where I live, on the acreage where I live, and it's not much, but it's like an old Florida pine forest. And this song it's one of those songs that came so quickly. I call it a ghost song. It just came almost instantly, and it is about kind of like a Mother Nature, or maybe the Lady of the Forest. I don't know. She's kind of this thing that inspires me out there, and I feel like I see her sometimes. But it's kind of an angelic presence out there, and sometimes if I'm really lucky, I get a song out of that. And this is one of those songs called Night in the Garden.
Saw you in the garden just the other night, laying by the well facing the moonlight. I saw there in your eyes you were the kind, woman but an archetype. Archetype. Darkened pools of jasper, your eyes turn to me. The willow whisked in my direction, making my heart sing. My heart sing. When she finally spoke, a voice it sounded like an owl. It echoed through the walls, and then some wolves began to howl. Standing in her presence was so warm and mystifying. I could tell there was no question. She could see that I was blind, blinded by her beauty and her light that dwelled inside. A prisoner to her truth, there was nowhere that I could hide.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That was so beautiful, I forgot where I was. Good morning, I'm Jennifer Johnston, and I had the privilege of going to the Galapagos Islands last week. So I was off the coast of Ecuador, and we get to see animals that exist nowhere else in the world. So I think it's perfectly in keeping with this week's theme of the wonders of the world. I can share that the creative genius is alive, and I got to see animals with red feet and blue feet and penguins that are small. They've adapted to the warm weather, and I played in the water with sea lions. The animals had no fear of humans. It was like a Garden of Eden where everything is coexisting, and really a privilege to get to be there. So this morning, our reading is from Prayers for 1,000 Years. And these were compiled right in 1999, before the year 2000. The first one is by Alice Walker. We have a beautiful mother. Her hills are buffaloes, her buffaloes hills. We have a beautiful mother. Her oceans are wombs, her wombs oceans. We have a beautiful mother, her teeth the white stones at the edge of the water, the summer grasses her plentiful hair. We have a beautiful mother, her green lap immense, her brown embrace eternal, her blue body everything we know. And the next prayer is from Terry Tempest Williams. I pray to the birds. I pray to the birds because I believe they will carry the messages of my heart upward. I pray to them because I believe in their existence, the way their songs begin and end each day, the invocations and benedictions of earth. I pray to the birds because they remind me of what I love rather than what I fear. And at the end of my prayers, they teach me how to listen. And the final poem is from Jeff Poinyevash, who called himself an eco-poet, a poet laureate. I love the Mother Earth as much as, almost more than, my own mother and my mother's mother. The earth who is my mother as really as any mother I ever had. The Mother Earth whose name is Estelle Poinyevash and a billion other names, and who is a zillion living beings who have no name, untaxonomied by all the taxidermists who ever taxed the lineages of non-human beings that ever emerged, like me, from this vast mother of an earth made love to by the Father Son. I love the Mother Earth even more than the Virgin Mother, Hail Mary, of whose womb blessed was the fruit. I love the Mother Earth, this dear old granny of a planet, this great, 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 grand, 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 grandmother of a living, breathing planet whose breaths are the clouds. More than I love Jesus, Mary, Joseph put together, with the Holy Ghost thrown in for good measure. I love the Mother Earth more than Jesus, Moses, Buddha, Mohammed, Krishna, and all those other definitely lovable folks put together. This Mother Earth from whose sacred womb I sprang so many years ago, and from whom also sprang all my myriad brothers and sisters, human and non, two-legged, four-legged, winged, finned, whatever. Happy Mother's Day, dear tormented mother, more full of sorrows than the sorrowful mother of crucified humankind. Forgive your 6 billion ungrateful brats. So many children, she didn't know what to do. Her children eating her out of house and home. Happy Earth Day / Rebirth Day. Teach us your wisdom that we and you may live.
Songs in 2015, 16. I met Emily actually, and I would go up to Tallahassee to see her, like 5-hour drive up there. And we met before I knew she was a college girl, and I was like, oh no, Tallahassee. And she, in the midst of this giant metropolis, Tallahassee's just bustling and so many clueless young people just driving around and hitting each other and stuff. There's this little teeny park where she lived near, and it's called Litchgate. And the whole park is dedicated to just one tree. And it's kind of amazing. This tree is definitely over 1,000 years old. It's an oak tree, and it's the tree of life. It goes all the way out, the limbs go into the ground, and then grow back out again, like that. And the minute I saw it, I just ran up to it, sat down on the root system, and just started writing immediately. And then I met the guy who was the kinfolk of the original owner, Clara Litchgate, and he is her son's son, I believe, and he dedicates his life to just protecting that one tree. It's pretty wild. And they have the old homestead. It looks like Little House on the Prairie house, and it's like we've been in there. And he's like, you guys can come there anytime and record. We went there one night. We were like, oh no, it was really creepy. It's this old place. And, but the tree is just so special. And we got to look, I mean, she turned me onto the tree. I was just like, wow. And it's up in Tallahassee. If you ever get up there, Litchgate Tree. But this is called the Litchgate Tree song. Check it out.
Come sit with me under the limbs of this great tree, and there we'll find a peace of mind. The wind breathes gently through the leaves. The branches bend. I swear this tree just spoke to me. Come sit with me. Let's hear the voice of this great tree, and there we'll find the answers of our time.
A bird sings out upon the tree. Its wings extend. It builds a nest to rest, to let. Come sit with me under the wings of a tall heat, and there we'll see a home, a family. The ground feels warm beneath my feet. The leaves decay. A seed, it grows, it shows. Come sit with me upon the ground near this great tree, and there we'll know the song to sing, to grow. The ground leaves underneath our feet. We rise above a tree to see what life will be. Come fly with me over the limbs of this great tree, and there we'll find the Litchgate Tree of life, the Litchgate Tree of life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love the image of the tree. It just, and that's what we're talking about today. You know, Reverend Teresa has been following the themes for the year that have been coming from the Center for Spiritual Living, and whenever I speak, she says, you know, you can do whatever you want or you can follow the theme. But she's been having such a great time following the theme that I thought I'd honor her and stay with the theme. And I like the theme, especially for this month with nature. And then I thought, well, I need to look up and see what this Sunday is supposed to be about. And the title is technically the furry, the fuzzy, the slimy, the scaly, and everyone else. And I was figuring it was just missing the wild and the woolly. So, and, you know, what I find with a talk title is you can sort of, as my teacher used to say, you know, it's just a talk title is big enough to drive a truck through. You can sort of cover a lot of territory in there and go a lot of different directions. But they provided a couple of quotes. This comes from, and you know, the other thing is there are like over 400 centers around the world, literally, following this theme. So you're not the only ones, and you here and you in the ethers aren't the only ones hearing this message. There are lots and lots of other people in gatherings, including places like Ukraine. We have churches there, so it's very interesting. To set the tone for this is a quote from St. Francis of Assisi. It says, "A cat purring on your lap is more healing than any drug in the world, as the vibrations you are receiving are of pure love and contentment." A cat purring on your lap is more healing than any drug in the world. I love that. And then Ernest Holmes says, consciousness sleeps in mineral life, dreams in plant life, awakens in animal life, and comes to self-consciousness in man. And I'm done. Yes, and so it is. And I thought when I read the cat purring quote, the first thing that came to mind was, and it stuck with me, is why can't we be like that cat purring? Not only for ourselves, but for those around us. And yes, in the book group that I've been working with, we've been doing this 40-day Mind Fast Soul Feast book, which has basically been causing us to go farther and farther inward to the space of really sort of realizing that we can be like that cat purring. We haven't had that conversation in the group yet, but I'm going to take it there. It's where do we find that inner peace? Well, you're not going to find inner peace out here. You're not going to find it in the newspaper. You're not going to find it on the radio or the television. You're going to find it inside. You know, moving from, you know, however tall you are, you know, 12 to 18 inches from here to here, where we do have more neurons between our heart and our gut than we do up here. If you go back and watch how embryos form and when the original neurons get split apart, more stay in that part of our body than wind up in our minds. Not that we don't have a lot up here, but we've got a lot everywhere. So we can feel it with our heart. We can have a gut feeling. And why not have a gut feeling of peace? A heart feeling of peace. A space of recognizing that everything that is created by the one. So if this is a God-created universe, which is one of the tenets of science of mind, really it's tenets of all religions, that some God under some name created everything. So why don't we accept everything? Why can't we be at peace with everything? Why can't we flow with everything and be, as Jennifer shared, you know, swimming with the seals and walking amongst the birds, and they're making their nests on the ground because they don't have any predators to attack them, and so they don't have to hide their nests or hide, you know, birds that have stopped flying because they don't need to escape from predators. if we could view the world, if we could be that way in the world. Because I think to some degree we're predators, we're seeking to get things. It's not the hunting and gathering that our ancestors thousands of years ago did, but we do go out and get things. We go out and try to get more things in some cases. And how do we flow in a way that we're at peace with those beings that surround us? Animal beings, I don't know, who has a pet? Cats, dogs, birds, fish, whatever, yeah, they teach us so much. They're maybe a tad off color, but if you think that your spouse unconditionally loves you, put your spouse and the dog in the trunk of the car for an hour and see who's wagging their tail when you open the trunk again. Are we, oh, I'm unconditional, really? I aspire to that. I think that that's a place where I would love to be. I aspire to be in the space that Joel Goldsmith talks about of praying without ceasing. Being in a constant field of prayer, which is a constant field of recognizing Spirit as me, as you, in me, surrounding me, with me, in all sorts of ways. Michael Beckwith says, Spirit so loves to manifest that it placed its own light at the center of your being. At your core, beyond the limiting thought forms you have bought into, there is a blueprint, a spiritual integrity factor. Today, dare to come out of the materialization mode. There's a lot of syllables and letters there. Materialization mode, and enter into the manifestation consciousness that is your birthright. So what are we manifesting? It's not things. It's love. It's peace. It's joy. Our book group has our mantra for this week is, I am joyous no matter what. Think about that. I'm using that as part of my practice of praying unceasingly. Whenever I stop and have a moment of like, what do I do next? I say, I'm joyous no matter what. A couple of weeks ago is, I appreciate the miracle I am and the miracle that everyone else is. What if we all walked with those things as our guide? What if we all were in that space of knowing that we're created from the same stuff? That we all have that inner light that came from the same source. No matter what it looks like out there, some of us are more awake than others. As Ernest Holmes says, how did he say it? He said it so beautifully. Comes to self-consciousness in man. Well, some of us are more self-conscious than others. And I'm not saying I'm way up here or whatever. I aspire to be more self-conscious, but how aware am I of my own surroundings, of my own being? This morning, I got to give you an example of being a little bit unconscious. Every morning, my wife and I get our supplements and whatever organized for the day, and I was doing 4 doses a day, and I combined things, and I do 2. So I did everything, had it all laid out, and it's kind of a wad of tablets and capsules and whatever, and probably some of you might say, oh my God, that looks crazy. Well, one is morning and one is evening, and the evening one is evening because my blood pressure medication says take before bed. So I got them all set up, took the morning pills over to the breakfast table. I like to take them early so the food can push all that wad of pills down. Put it in my mouth, and as it was going in my mouth, I saw a pill in there that didn't look right for the morning. And it was too late because the momentum was already there and it was going down. So I took the blood pressure medication. It's the only thing I have that specifically says take before bedtime. Well, I took it before bedtime last night, and I took it this morning. So I don't know. This is a pill that says if you can't remember whether you took the pill or not, don't take another one until the next day. So I don't know, whether I'll just kind of go, I'm definitely not going to have high blood pressure this morning, so we're in good shape. But so we move, moment to moment to moment, and are we aware of who we are? Are we aware of who we are in the world, the way speaking of furry and wild, we've got a raccoon and moving through the garden here. It's interesting how being in this garden space, almost every week something happens behind Reverend Teresa or whoever's up here that sort of makes the point of, yes, there are things going on. We have wonderful trees in here, and one of the largest staghorn ferns I've ever seen is out in the garden here, hanging under an oak tree there. It's an amazing thing. If there's a palm tree that blocks a view, otherwise I could see it from the balcony of my condominium, which is rather special. But so where are we? Where are we in our awareness that these creatures that surround us are really part of us? They're an expression of us. There's jokes, and they joke about people, and he says, well, that fellow's dog looks just like he, and he looks just like his dog. Or you see him walking down the street, and the two people are walking, and they got the dog and the people are walking, and they have kind of the same pace and posture moving down the street. Yeah, do we become our pets, or do our pets become us? Or where's the wisdom flow there? I can't remember there was a series of cartoons, but it was like an argument between a more New Thought church and a Catholic church of whether dogs had souls or not. But, I look at our little dog, he's 11 pounds, about that big, about 16 years old now. And yeah, there's something going on there. There's something going on. And she's just not a ball of fur and, that's happy to see us when we get home. And, he's not a chow hound, so he doesn't dig into his food, but he eats it when he's ready. He's kind of, I would say he consciously eats versus, some of us, you go places and say, that person isn't necessarily consciously eating. I don't think they maybe tasted anything that went into their mouth. They ate it so fast. I had a business partner like that. But how do we practice? There's the old story of Brother Lawrence. Brother Lawrence was a monk who lived, I think it was in the 14th or 15th century, who, the quote that I always remember is, when I'm washing the dishes, I'm washing the dishes. That practice of spirit all the time was the same. He did the same practice, whether he was meditating or praying or washing the dishes. That was just his way of walking it. So he was an extremely conscious individual. And I'm going to bet very happy, very peaceful, at peace with the world, with himself and the world around him. So how do we get there? How do we get there? I think that's what everybody wants to know. How do I have that peace? How do I stay in that peace? Because there's all sorts of stuff out there trying to pull us out of peace all the time. In the early 2000s, Michael Beckwith used to call those things weapons of mass distraction. Borrowed that from something else that was going on in the world at the time. But, what are those things that massively distract us? And do we need to have them? Do we need to have them? Has anybody ever done a news fast where you don't read or watch for a week or 2 weeks? I just recently did one for myself, and I found the first week, I actually felt a little, and I'm not a big news person. I read a couple things a day. I don't watch TV news at all. And I felt a little like a withdrawal. It's like, oh, what's going on? What am I missing? Oh, second week was like, this is pretty good. Not feeling that draw, like that temptation to pick up the iPhone and tap it on the news and see who's doing what to whom and all that. And now it's like, I see an article, we have some investments, I check those and know there's an article about something economic going on, so I look at that, but it's like not drawn into all that stuff that can then get my head going into, oh my God, what's going to happen with this and what's going to happen with that and who's going to do this and who's going to do that. That's distraction, mass distraction. So how many of us are massively distracted? And I'm going to say when we're even moderately distracted by all this stuff, we're not as happy as we could be. Because we lose our own grounding. We're pulled out rather than staying within. And I'm not staying within like we're going to be monks and not talk to anybody or, all those. I'm saying come from a place that's centered. If you're going to have a conversation, come from a place that's not out here in sort of the anger and turmoil of the world, but a place that's at peace in your own mind, at peace in your own heart, that feels good when you share whatever it is you have to share, that feels good when you walk away from whomever you've just had an interaction with because you were centered. You were coming from a place of caring, a place of being attentive, aware of who you were in that particular moment, who you are in the next moment. In the practitioner studies, one of the books that I didn't have it when I was a practitioner student, but having taught several practitioner classes, 7,000 Ways to Listen by Mark Nepo. And I didn't count to see if there were actually 7,000 ways in the book. I think it was just his idea. But can we listen? You've heard the thing about, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so maybe we should listen more and talk less kind of a thing. But the practice of listening when you're face to face with somebody. Are you making eye contact? Are you really listening to that person? Or are you trying to figure out what you're going to say next in response to what he or she is saying now? In which case, you haven't heard what he or she has to say because you're too busy up here churning on what's going to come next. But when you just listen to that person, you can really feel what that person has to say. And then you can be a responder rather than a reactor, an understander rather than a reactor. I think a lot of us, guilty, have been reactors when we're with other people. He said that, she said this, whatever. But when we listen with our hearts, with our spirit, with our soul, with our inner awareness, then we can appreciate. We can be that cat purring, bringing the contentment vibration to everyone that we meet. And there are people walking around who operate in that space that after you're with them, you have a feeling that is like that was wonderful. It was so good to be with that person, so pleasant to be with that person. Because he or she wasn't trying to sort of tell a better story than you just told or have a better experience than you just had or anything else. They were really hearing your experience, appreciating your experience. So I think our mission really to be here, to be God-conscious beings, to be aware of ourselves, is to be in that space where, I don't know what purring would be for a human being, but I think there's something about being at peace mentally, being at peace physically, that allows us to be more aware of who we are, be more aware of how we're feeling in a particular moment. I've been to plenty of conferences, maybe some of you have too, where, there's a question of how are you feeling right now? Well, if you're not really inwardly centered, you may not have an answer to that question. You may not really know whether you're feeling peaceful, happy, joyous, healthy. Are you feeling robust? Are you feeling a little blah? What are the various words that you might describe yourself in the moment? So I would invite you to take some time each day to turn within. Take some time each day to get to that center of your being. Take some time, whether you do it in meditation, whether you do it in prayer, whether you just sit under the tree. I love this, back to the tree in Tallahassee. That's just one of my favorite places in the world is Big Sur in California, where you can walk among and sit amongst the coastal redwoods and just be at peace. And especially if you go there like in the middle of the week in the early fall or early spring when the tourists haven't started coming or not, and so you could just be there by yourself for 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours even, and just be at peace. Just be at peace. This garden here doesn't get used all that much. So for those of us in Sarasota, it's not that far away from home. You can just come here and sit in this beautiful garden space and share it and enjoy it. They would love it, I'm sure, to see their space being used. Or this bay that's being redone, there's wonderful paths and places to sit and swings to sit in, places where you can just be peaceful for a moment. But finding that place, finding that I'm going to call it a purr space, finding that purr space for yourself. What gets you to that space where you might be able to curl up next to somebody or on somebody's lap or in some way or another and be in that space of purring. I know that if I stroke my wife's hair on her head that sometimes she does purr and gets a big smile. So I try to practice that as much as possible. Just wanted to see if there was, here we go. This is Michael Beckwith again. He says, today refuse to see yourself as a recipient of the negative vibrations or as a victim of subtle or gross influences around you. Practice broadcasting the high vibrations of your inner radiance, remembering all the while that the place upon which you stand is holy. The place upon which you stand is holy, simply because you are standing there. With that, peace and blessings. And again, Matthew and Emily.
Hello. Hi. So when Matt and I first met, well, I guess it was actually a year after we met, we went on a road trip together, and I think we thought it was going to be at first just like 3 weeks, and it turned into like 2 months of traveling together because we went to North Carolina and we were sitting in Asheville and we met this couple and they said, do you know what the Blue Ridge Parkway is? And we were like, no. And for those of you who do know what the Blue Ridge Parkway is, can you imagine not knowing and not seeing any pictures and then all of a sudden getting onto it and seeing all the mountains? And I mean, it was the best way to do it. I love that we didn't see a picture and we went on. But so we went on and we're like, oh man, I mean, we're doing this. And so we just did the entire thing and we camped throughout the whole thing. We even went to the very end of it. It was called like Skyline Drive. It goes into the Shenandoah Mountains. And then we're like, hey, let's just keep going. So we went up to the, we were just young and free. So yeah, we went to the Adirondacks and it was just a gorgeous summer trip. And so ever since then we bought a travel trailer together and we love camping, and we soon discovered that we love nature and we love camping together. And so it's just a beautiful thing. We haven't gone on a trip in a while, but we really want to. But anyway, so he wrote this song in Chautauqua. We ended up in Chautauqua, New York. And that's a place where I would spend my summers with my family. And so I don't know if anyone knows Chautauqua. You do? Cool.
I bet Ernest Holmes spoke there a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the center for
It's a
those
spiritual
poets and
place.
everything. I didn't realize when her family always went there. I was in the epicenter of like knowledge, wisdom, religion. There was all these yogis there and everything, and it was like symphonies at night, and it was just so amazing. So
Yeah.
I had to write a lot when I was there, and it's nothing like Emerson or anything that I wrote, but I think it's good for me, you know, it's good for Matt Frost.
Yeah. So he wrote this
And,
song,
yeah.
and it's about our trip.
And it's about the tree of life. Actually, it comes to the head, Onondaga, the nation, the up in New York, there's the tree of peace, the white pine. And if you listen ever to the story of Hiawatha, the song of Hiawatha, it has that in there. And I've lived a lot of my life like off that story, and it's very similar to Jesus's experience, I feel like, and it was way before Jesus, and it's Hiawatha bringing the peace to the 5 nations, and it's kind of what our democracy is supposed to be based on. I wish it was more like what Hiawatha spoke of, but the tree is still, they replanted a new one. It's up in New York and Onondaga, and I was just had to find this tree. It was funny, but we finally ended up there, so that's what kind of the song's called, Onondaga, Tree of Peace.
Come with me to a distant land, to a sacred place and time. Leave behind your busy life, set your cares aside. On this trip we will search out places far from city lights. There we'll find peace of mind, a treasure deep inside. Heading north on the Florida coastline, stars burst in the sky. Palm trees kiss a warm sea mist, a bird sings in the night. Sun peeks out from purple prairie clouds, the savannah comes to life. Bayou grass, blue lagoons, summer time. In the distance, the Blue Ridge Mountains are calling us, let's climb. Rolling hills of wild flowers, where cows and horses dine. Air thins out and the land it winds up and down the Carolines. Waterfalls and hilltop streams cascade down mountain sides. Deep inside of the Shenandoah, red rock cliffs and pine line the sky in evening time like misty mountain shrines. Blowing over the Appalachians, smoky wind of white brings the night, cover sight, sleep tight, my child. Rolling fields of golden wheat, wet, cool moss beneath our feet. Rivers run over the hills, mountain mist descends a chill. Trees are blowing in the wind, blue butterfly.
Then we'll head to the Adirondacks, black and crystalline. Wild and free, black bears roam, a loon cries out all night. Then we'll search for a sacred tree on an ancient lake we'll find. Longleaf pine, tree of peace, bird tribes.
Onondaga, 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 Onondaga. Higher waters, tree of peace, white pine. Onondaga, 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 Onondaga. Higher waters, tree of peace, white pine. Onondaga, 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 Onondaga. Higher waters, tree of peace, white pine. Onondaga, 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 Onondaga. Higher waters, tree of peace, white pine.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Whoops. Turned that on just a half a second too soon, I guess. That was wonderful. Thank you. Can we be like the trees? Can we be a tree of life, each one of us? I think that's the calling that we have, that we can be the holy ground, we can be the holy space, we can be that space. And now it's time to talk about circulation and supporting this wonderful center that we have, this opportunity to join together, whether it's online or in person on Sunday mornings, and sharing the message, sharing the classes that Reverend Teresa does, and just to support the whole movement, support ourselves really. Because when we give forth from our own energy, we give forth from that space of sharing, we grow. You know, how do the plants grow? They give forth. They take in the carbon dioxide, they put out the oxygen. They're circulating all the time. So we can do the same thing. We circulate energy. Money is just energy. It's, you know, the paper bills or coins, whatever we have, you know, there's in and of themselves, there's really no value. It's the energy that we put behind them that is the value, the energy that we imbue them with. So we just take a moment to honor the gift that we're sharing. And if you're online, there are, I think, 4 different ways that you can give electronically. And it's conscious giving. It's always conscious giving. So we simply take a moment to bless the gift and bless the giver, know that everything is flowing and moving with great movement, great joy, great support for this wonderful, powerful ministry that's being established here in Sarasota. Center for Spiritual Living Cultural Coast. And so once again, I'm grateful, and so it is. Bobby?
Thank you, Reverend Emile. Let's sing together. I receive the gift of life and pass it on. I receive the gift of love and pass it on. I receive the gift of joy and pass it on. I receive all good and pass it on. I receive the gift of life and pass it on. I receive the gift of love and pass it on. I receive the gift of joy and pass it on. I receive all good and pass it on.
Jennifer?
I'll make a few announcements. How many folks have read the e-newsletter that Reverend Teresa sent out on Thursday? That has all the news you can use, all the happenings. There are links there to register for these events, but just wanted to remind everyone that Rev G, as he mentioned, has a book club that meets on Thursday mornings. On Monday evenings at 7, Julie and Effie lead meditation, which I've been really enjoying. Opportunity for instruction on meditation. Julie's a gifted teacher and really an opportunity to go within, as we heard this morning. Reverend Teresa is going to be offering a new class beginning September 5th. It's a 5-week class. It's an introductory class for anyone who's interested, and it's an opportunity to not only deepen your spiritual practice, but to build connections with others in the community. I just completed a class with some of you, and just a really nice opportunity to be able to walk together on this spiritual journey. If you don't receive that e-newsletter, you can sign up on our Facebook page or at cslculturalcoast.org. And if you'd like prayer, you can send your prayer requests to prayer@cslculturalcoast.org. And if you're here this morning, we have practitioners and ministers with us, Rev G and Bobby and Cindy and others who can be with you in prayer this morning. So thank you all, and I'll bring Bobby up to bookend us with a closing song. Oh, Matthew and Emily are going to do a closing song. Our treat. Thank you.
Cool. So when I first found out about the theme, this song came to mind. The theme today was our relationship with nature, and I was like, Pocahontas. And so I'm going to sing
Colors of the
Colors
Wind.
of the Wind.
Changed my life when I was a kid. I was like, I already felt that way, and then when I saw Pocahontas, I was like, I knew it. I knew it.
You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to a blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grins? You can sing with all the voices of the mountain. Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rain heron and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. How high does a sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or whether we are white or coppered skin. You need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. You need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind. Thank you. Polka. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.